All right, we have here Santi Gonzalez Garza. I want to thank you so much for doing this video with me. Everybody, Santi is an amazing guy. I met him at, well, maybe I'll let him share more, but I met him at our January event, our self-care sleepover retreat, our last big brick event that we had. And it was so awesome getting to know you there, and then really amazing being able to work with you in this coaching capacity. And I'll let you share more specifically and directly, as that's the purpose of this call. But for those of you watching, this is going to be probably about 15-20 minutes where I'm just going to ask Santi about his relationship with his phone before he started the Phone Smart coaching, and why he took the coaching, and what his life and lifestyle kind of looks like today. We've been working together for just under 2 months now. For those of you that aren't familiar, my Phone Smart coaching is a weekly video chat. Each one's 30 minutes long. We chat for 30 minutes, and each session ends with some homework and conversations. And I teach this 3-step technique that I call the Phone Smart method, which Santi now knows. And yeah, we've had about 6 sessions, maybe 6 or 7 sessions, and you've had amazing progress. And I wanted to use this time to talk about it a little bit and understand it a little bit better for those of us that are interested, those people that are interested in maybe taking the coaching. So I'd love to just hear a little bit about you. Tell us about yourself and a little bit about your background.
Yeah, so my name's Santi. I met Tommy at that phone-free sleepover in LA, which was one of the coolest events I've ever been to. It's too bad about COVID. I was looking forward to more. I had heard about him because, so I'm a software engineer and designer and work with apps. A lot of the apps that I work on, I'm trying to use technology to bring people together in real life. So it's a topic of interest of mine. And I'm very opinionated on what phones are doing to people, I think, in their day-to-day. So a friend of mine recommended that I meet Tommy. That's how I met Tommy. So yeah, I think that's, I mean, what else? What else?
Yeah, can you tell us, just because I think it's so fascinating, can you tell us a little bit more about your career history? Because I think it's relevant.
Yeah, definitely. So I was one of the first backend engineers at Tinder, back when Tinder was getting off the ground. So I got to help scale that operation, and now they're in the really early days, which were really exciting. Tinder being pretty controversial, I think, but I think it was a net positive because it sort of broke down the stigma of people meeting online and sort of using technology in a just as a way to meet people and connect. Obviously, fair share of negatives as well. But so that was really interesting. Then I left Portugal and I started a creative studio where we sort of merged artists and engineers and people who worked in tech. It was just sort of a creative, creative studio of sorts. I lived out in Portugal for 3 years. Worked on several projects while I was there. One little app I built blew up and got acquired, so I got to invest in some more failures, and then the project I'm working on right now is an app that brings people together based on interest. So it actually works with your friends, so it makes it easier for you guys to get together. So yeah, that's kind of a little history into my short career.
Thanks for that. And just one kind of intro softball question to get the gears turning. What is one thing that you love to do without your phone?
So I live with 3 friends, so there are 4 of us housemates, and every night it's someone else's turn to cook for everybody. And so we usually spend an hour or 2 kind of in the kitchen cooking and eating. And we eat in the back. Actually, we've got a fire pit, and so generally none of us have our phones on us during those hours. We just hang out and sit around the fire, and it's really nice. It feels like the good old days.
That's great. Yeah, phone-free meals are key. So key. Cool. Yeah. So just to get into it a little bit more deeply, I'd love to know, how would you describe what your relationship was with your phone before you started this Phone Smart coaching? What were your kind of habits? What was your lifestyle like?
Yeah, so I would describe it as average. So I think I wasn't out of, I think my phone habits were pretty normal these days. For me internally, they felt pretty bad. I would wake up and I would think to check my phone right away. While I was working, I would constantly check my phone. I always had it on me. I would check notifications right away. When I was talking to someone, I would sort of itch to check my phone as well. And yeah, it was sort of always there. I rarely spent, besides surfing, I think I wouldn't spend more than an hour away from my phone on average. So it felt pretty bad. And over the years, I've tried to sort of fight the urges. I had a flip phone for 2 years. I also got rid of my phone completely and didn't have a phone for a little while. And that was really the only way I was able to stay off of it, was just to get rid of it. I was pretty addicted to it. So, having worked on the app side of things, I know how much expertise goes into and how many resources go into making sure that these apps are addicting, or that you open them often, they spend time. And there's just a lot of teams behind all of your apps on your phone. It's really hard to, psychologically, it's difficult to stay off of it, for sure.
And it's amazing that, considering how much you understood about the behavioral hooks that are put into these apps to get you to spend as much time on them as possible, that even though you worked on these apps themselves, you still found yourself feeling hooked in and using it unintentionally. So that knowledge of it, I guess, isn't enough to actually have a healthy relationship.
Yeah, they're totally. I mean, I think being so conscious of it made me, I think, a bit more frustrated about it. But yeah, I mean, even knowing what's going on under the hood, it's just there's so many, you're dealing with. They're not just it's not like games or anything. It's social apps where you're talking to friends and family and romantic interests and all these things. So it's sort of an integral part of our lives, and it's really hard to get off of.
Yeah, absolutely. So thinking back on 2 months ago, before we started working together, you have these entrepreneurial endeavors and investments, and you've got a lot that you're working on. Can you describe, like, what were some of the big issues that you feel like you were struggling with at the time? I guess work or kind of personal.
Yeah. Well, the work ones were pretty straightforward. I'd be constantly interrupted by notifications. Then I'd have internal triggers where I just sort of like go for my phone whenever I got bored, or whenever a task was a bit overwhelming. I would find myself unconsciously reaching for my phone. I think as a software engineer, I benefit a lot from entering a flow state where I can code just in a state of flow, and the phone made it really difficult to get there. So that was work. On the personal end, I felt like I wasn't fully present when I was on my own. I was sort of thinking about other people, about who I was going to reach out to. I was reacting to notifications, but also when I was with people, some part of me wasn't fully there, knowing that I had the whole internet kind of buzzing me in my pocket. So that was a bit of a frustration too. And then on a more existential level, I felt like I was living with half my foot in the real world and half my foot in the virtual world, and I wasn't totally there in general.
So when we first started the coaching, you started off with a conscious control score of 22%, which is actually most common. Most people fall into that category of what we call weak conscious control. And everyone who is considering becoming a client and learning what the 3-step technique is, we do a short assessment. And it's a 10-question quiz that leaves you with a percentage, a score called your conscious control. And you ended up, when we did the assessment, with a conscious control score of 22%. And that means that often the people that fall into this category have a dysfunctional relationship with their phone. They often feel like it's this love-hate relationship, like it's a nuisance, like it's frustrating, like you need it for work, but you often find yourself sucked into it. And I've often found that these people truly aren't living up to their full potential because of the amount of time and energy that's put into the device relationship, and they're not really feeling like they're in control of it. So conscious control, I define as the ability to say no to these unwanted behaviors. So like checking your phone first thing in the morning and checking it while driving, or checking it when you're in the middle of a meeting. Those are kind of examples of living by that impulsivity and having low conscious control. So I'm curious to know, what is it that you feel like you were struggling with before we started the coaching? How were you spending your time, and why do you think you had that 22%?
Yeah, totally. Well, I think for me, addiction is, it's when something negatively affects your life and you feel bad as a result of it, but you can't stop. And I think a lot of people feel like using the word addiction for something like a phone is a bit extreme. But I felt bad as a result of my phone habits. And I wanted to stop. And I tried to take steps to stop, like charging outside my room, things like that. But it kept creeping back into my life. And I know that it's not as destructive an addiction as some of the more, common ones, but it really, it was really just hard to let go of those habits. And, just to give you an example, from the moment I woke up to the moment I would go to bed, my phone was pretty much always on. And late at night, when I was tired, I'd end up scrolling through garbage, and it just felt really bad and got in the way of my work. And again, this sounds extreme, but it was just kind of just always there, and I couldn't get rid of it. Yeah. So yeah, the 22% score felt right. I was annoyed by the phone, and I couldn't really stop. I needed to work, so I didn't have the right tools in place internally or just environmentally to really stop using it all the time.
Yeah. What's amazing about you is that you acknowledged this. Maybe you didn't know what your conscious control score was at the time, but I think you were just kind of living in this state of dissatisfaction with your productivity or maybe relationships. And so, it was just very courageous of you to want to take an evaluation call with me and understand a little bit more about what it was like and kind of discover your score and learn about how the Phone Smart method works. So I commend you for that. And then I'm so glad that we got to actually work together and have the success that we'll share over the next few minutes. So last point, I hope you don't mind me saying so, but I was looking back at your screen time before we started, because the total average screen time are one of the metrics that we measure to track progress. So every week you send in your average screen time during the day, and then the goal is to reduce that, maybe 5-10% each week. And you went from 6 hours a day on your phone on average, which is relatively average for adult Americans today. Like you said, it's pretty normal, so to speak. But within the first 4 weeks, you reduced that time down to 3.5 hours. So you almost halved it. And, one of the ways that I like to measure progress is with time. And in this case, it's the amount of time that you're gaining. So if you're spending 2.5 hours less on your phone each day over the course of a week, that's 17 extra hours in your week. So that's 17 extra productive waking hours in your week that you're now spending. And over the course of a month, so over the course of our first month, because I did all these calculations before our call, So that added 68 hours into your month. And 68 hours in a month, if you is almost 3 full 24-hour days. So you went from spending 6 hours a day on your phone down to today it's about like 3.5 on average, which is amazing. And you're getting up to 3 extra days each month, waking productive days. This isn't time you'd otherwise be spending sleeping. This is time that you're spending cooking or in relationships, with friends, or surfing, or all these other things that you love. So that's amazing. And so you started taking this Phone Smart coaching with me. We started the client coaching relationship, and I'm just curious to know, what made you commit to it? Why did you decide to take me on as your Phone Smart coach?
Yeah, and by the way, just real quick about those calculations, it's still getting better. So every week it's still decreasing. So,
awesome.
We haven't plateaued. It's incredible. Yeah, what made me commit was I actually took a 2-week trip, and I left my phone and my computer behind. And
sorry, you left your phone where?
My phone and my computer. I left them behind.
Okay.
Yeah. So I took a trip, a camping trip all over California with my brother and my best friend from childhood. And I made a very conscious decision to leave the phone and the computer behind. And I have an old 89 4Runner, so it doesn't have a sound system. It doesn't have any electrical outlets or anything. So I had no electronics on me. We did about, I think, 1,000 miles total camping along rivers and stuff. It was incredible.
Awesome.
But we caravan, so I was in the car on my own with no electronics. I mean, it was really a lot of time off the screen. And I noticed something really interesting, which was the first 3 days, my brain was looking for the phone. It was trying to fill the spaces. I felt very anxious actually, and it was like playing loops of songs in my head as I drove and stuff. It felt like it needed to be anchored in with either with somebody or on the phone. It's really interesting. And after about 3 days, the dust settled. I felt really calm. And for the first time in a long time, I felt completely aware of, where I was, but also where I was more in the general sense. And it felt great. It was the best feeling ever. I felt totally present. And I realized how much of a negative effect the phone had actually had on me. That's when I realized how big the deal it was, to where my brain was always buzzing. And how good it felt to be off the screen. So I had a little notepad with me, and the first thing I wrote down was text Tommy. We had met because I knew you were doing phone coaching as a result. You had shifted from events to some of the phone coaching stuff, and I had kind of been putting it off, and that's when I realized I really wanted this. I wanted to feel that freedom, and so I wrote that down. I wrote some other stuff too that I followed through with. And yeah, as soon as I got back, I shot you a text and we did the free consultation, and I knew right away that it was going to be positive. So
that's so awesome. I
Yeah.
didn't know that story. I love that.
Yeah.
I knew you traveled for a couple of weeks and that you wanted to find that again in the real world. But I love that you wrote down text Tommy.
Yeah, true story.
Very honored. Very honored. Okay, so did you have any doubts about it? I guess when you understood, I guess I'll explain. So the Phone Smart method is this 3-step technique that helps you break your bad phone habits, feel freedom from your phone, and reduce your screen time so that you can focus on the things that are important to you. In your case, it was obviously both business and personal and productivity and focus. So, but did you have any doubts about it? I guess as you
Yeah, I had one doubt. The doubt was that I was worried that while we were doing the sessions, I would be very conscious and actively working towards, just applying exercises and new habits and whatnot, and that I would fall back to my old ways as soon as we stopped, or shortly after we stopped. That was my biggest concern. I didn't. I had faith that they would be productive sessions, just because I know that you studied this stuff. I trust your perspective on it a lot, and I also think that meeting with somebody in general once a week is it's sort of it's a very proactive, dedicated kind of step, and that alone helps a lot. On top of that, trust your guidance.
That's awesome. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, so now 6-7 weeks in, I know that often when it comes to habit change, it can be 2 steps forward, 1 step back, or it can be kind of daunting because we didn't develop our bad habits overnight. So unlearning those habits is a process, and that is a lot of the focus that we worked on and continue to work on together. But were those doubts validated or vindicated throughout the process?
Yeah, it was really interesting. So I'd say for the first 6 weeks, there was very, significant progress. It was, I think, double-digit percentage decreasing in phone usage weekly.
Every week.
It was every week. It was crazy, and I felt that. I felt more time in my day, and the new habits that we were introducing, and the new approaches were working. They were absolutely working. But it felt like I was, it felt like I had to be on top of it because my old urges were still there. I was just doing something about it. Then about 6 weeks in, I started noticing that when I woke up, I would forget to check it. Because I wasn't checking it until 12, and these were proactive exercises. But then just realizing that I was totally forgetting that my phone was a thing for hours. I was like living my life without even thinking that I was actively. I wasn't actively avoiding it. I was just habitually avoiding it at that point. And I noticed it in everything. I noticed it in work. I was doing like 4 hours of just pure flow at a time. I noticed it in conversations. Even at night, I would forget about my phone, and I wouldn't have to like rip it out, rip away from it. It was just it was not there. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty incredible. That was the magical moment. It was about like 7 weeks in. It started happening. Yeah.
It's amazing, man. It's so cool. So what's something that started off needing to be deliberate is now becoming its own habit? You're now ingraining it into these new neural pathways as we've cut out the maladaptive behaviors that you wanted to change that were misaligned with your goals. You've found these new behaviors, and now they're kind of settling in and becoming easier, and they're the new habits. So it's amazing to hear that that's how that feels. Yeah. So to chat about the stats, I guess, a little bit, because I have those as well. So every week, since you brought up the stats, as we started working together, each week you reduced your screen time at least 10%. And 1 week you actually reduced it 41% decrease from the previous week. And even better, within the first 4 weeks, we took the conscious control assessment again, and you went from a 22% conscious control in the weak category to an 80% conscious control, which puts you in the strong category. And that's amazing, that transformation in just 4 sessions, which is really only 2 hours of actual coaching time together, not including the time you spent kind of doing the little homework that I give at the end of the sessions. But that's really incredible. And so just kind of adding it all up, what does your life look like now? Can you tell me a little bit about how your productivity and lifestyle has changed?
Yeah. Well, every night before I go to bed, I'm now going to bed at between 9 and 10:30 p.m., which I've never done my whole life. And I go to bed and I leave the electronics outside of the room. They charge in the living room. And I lay down and I read. And I've been, reading things I used to only read for productive reasons. I'm reading stuff for fun. And I doze off to bed and I have a really good night's rest, and I wake up early, and I feel like my morning has all of this time, and there's a calm element to it. I wake up early and I get a lot done, but in a calm way. It's really, really nice.
Wow.
And then I get to work, and I'm actually working more than I was before. I took on another project, so I'm actually bouncing two, which would have been unheard of before, and now I feel like I'm being more productive. So, the work thing has really been a game changer. Just so much more productive. I spend a lot more time with friends. I spend a lot more time doing fun things. I biked up to Gibraltar, climbed 5,000 feet. I'm not a cyclist. I went with a couple of friends, and a lot of those sort of little adventures are happening frequently. I think I just have more time. I'm also dating someone that I really like. Not doing the whole dating app thing, which is nice. I love surfing, basketball. I mean, it's just it feels like a very full day every day. And I think previously I would go to bed feeling like I didn't really accomplish that much. So it's a little bit frustrating. Now I feel like I had a little bit of, a lot of everything actually. I feel totally satisfied.
Oh, I love it. So awesome, Santi.
Yeah,
so exciting. Awesome. So cool. So my final question for you, or last two short questions, knowing what you know now and having gone through the process, what kind of person would you recommend Phone Smart coaching to, or who do you feel like this is for, or who would benefit from it?
This is for anybody who feels anywhere from mild to serious frustration with their phone habits, or just their phone usage. If you wish you weren't on your phone as much, or you wish you had a different relationship with technology, with the real world, this is helpful, and it's actually invaluable. And I recommend it. I think you don't have to be a self-proclaimed phone addict to improve your relationship with your phone. These things are with us at all times, and they can be overwhelming. So I recommend doing it. It's really high impact. It's not all to them. And so I would recommend trying it and seeing if your life gets better over the course of a few weeks. Mine got better immediately. So I think you'll notice right away that it really is an invaluable game, and it's worth it for sure.
Wow. Well, I am so appreciative to having found you as a client. I mean, it's so heartening to be able to see the results that you've had. It really validates my work and the effort that I've been putting into first improving my habits, and then basically making a choice to work to help other people with this, and all of bringing my background in neuroscience and everything I'd kind of done to myself and started to do with others. To see the success with you is just amazing, and can't wait to see what the next year looks like in your life, both with work and in personal. So thankful for you to spend the time to share your experience doing it, because I really think that them hearing your story, people hearing your story, will be a great way for people that are curious, who don't really feel like they know what it's all about, to realize that it could be for them, and that it's not like you said, just for phone addicts. It's for highly successful, ambitious people that just want to up level and really want to feel great about their phone, to make their phone an ally, and to make it this tool that it truly is, this supercomputer to make us superhuman, to make us the best version of ourselves. So I'm so grateful for you, man. And I hope those of you that watch this video are curious and interested, and that you schedule a free evaluation soon.
Yep.
Do you have any last thoughts or things you want to add?
I just want to, I've thanked you before, but I really want to thank you for focusing on this mission. I think, for how much the world uses smartphones, it's really incredible that, you're the first person I've met dedicated to submission, and the way you go about it is really relatable and effective. And so I'm thankful that that you're putting your services out there, and I'm excited for some of the things to come after COVID. It'd be nice to do more of the phone free events, which were really cool as well.
Me too.
And yeah, I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Santi. Onwards, still on the ground floor here. So yeah, I'm excited for the future too.